Welcome to the Stock Talks, and today we're going to be talking about another great stock, and that stock is going to be ZIX Corporation. And I want to jump into this one because it was an interesting one, and it's a company that you may not be very familiar with, but I do think that it is a company worth taking it or worth considering, and we'll dive into the numbers. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, first, we always like to start with what exactly do they do? So ZIX is a company that is in the email encryption space. So they're in the data security. And when it comes down to data security, their main product is email encryption. Now, with so much pressure on trying to protect data and trying to keep people's information secure and confidential, this is a product that is solving or it is addressing a huge problem, because as we become more and more, I guess you would say, tech advanced and data becomes more accessible, this type of technology is critical because so many people need it. I mean, think about the number of people or the number of commercials you've seen about security theft, and this company is solving a huge problem. So as always, when we look at the products that they're doing or what the business does, the question we want to ask ourselves is, how big is that problem? And is it big enough to really attract customers that want to pay for this type of solution? And I definitely say yes, because one of the big things that they're moving into is the healthcare space. And as healthcare is trying to make information more accessible, I say that they have they have an A product in their category. So because I would have given them an A plus if they had already expanded outside of email. But right now, email communication is their primary. But if they're able to adapt their technology to go outside of email, I believe that this product would be an A plus because people need it and it's a wide problem that people are willing to pay for. Now, the next thing we like to look at are the financials. So when we look at the financials, now this is a growing company. So they're about 50 to 55 million in revenue. Now, what we can see is that they have been growing even in light of the pandemic, in which, like I said, the pandemic has probably put more interest in this company because people are now working remotely. They're sending emails back and forth. They're sending communications, so they want to protect their information so confidential information isn't getting out. So you've seen growth in this business. Now, another thing I like to look at is the gross margin to see what does the gross margin look like. So after they pay their server costs and the teams that work on it, I will say in this area, I would expect to see their gross margin continue to grow or to be a little bit higher. But this may just be a factor of scaling, meaning they haven't brought on enough customer volume to really take advantage of scaling. Because usually when you have kind of a tech solution, usually in the beginning, your margins are a little lower because you just haven't grown the revenue high enough. But as you add more revenue, your cost should be pretty flat or relatively steady. So your revenue will grow faster than your costs. So I expect that to be the case going forward with a product like this. And then when we look at their operating profits, one of the things that I have seen with a lot of tech companies or technology-based companies is early on, their margins, their operating profit may be negative or low because they're investing to grow the business. Now, what we can see from the top line is they are gradually growing the business quarter over quarter. And what we also see is that they've been able to get a good handle on their actual operating costs, like all the costs, the back end, the management, the rent, all that stuff to run the business. They've been able to get a good handle on that, which has been really good. So I like what I'm seeing there as far as the margin growing. Now, I would like it to continue to grow, which is what we expect as they continue to grow their top line revenue. We should see that their operating percentage should grow. Now, on the cash piece, because when you're in a tech space, you need to invest because email encryption and hackers, all of that stuff is constantly changing. So you need to be able to invest in your technology, updating it, getting you ready to go. And so I like to see do they have enough cash to invest in their business? Now there's a difference between cash and cash flow. What cash means is that, hey, they could have borrowed the money, they could have gotten it from investors, or they could have got it from their operations. But I like to zero in on the operation to see, can the business actually fund itself? Is the business getting enough cash from its operations to be able to support itself? Because it doesn't really matter if you have a great product if you run out of cash. And where I look at their cash position, I see that they are doing, pretty well in the cash area. Now, when it comes down to the score and their financials, like I said, I would expect to see their gross margin to be a little bit higher because they are a technology base, but that may just be a factor of they haven't scaled their revenue as quickly, or they haven't scaled their revenue as much as they could. So when it comes to a score, I gave their financials A minus because I want to see that gross margin get higher. And as that gross margin gets higher, that will trickle down into profit for the rest of the business, as well as seeing an improvement in continual cash flow. Now, the part about this company that you really, really care about is the stock price. I mean, really, when it comes down to stocks, one of the ways that you're going to make the most money from a stock is from the valuation, meaning you bought it at one price, you sold it at another, you keep the difference. Now, there are some companies that do issue dividends, and dividends become a good way to get, as I say, smaller amounts of income over a period of time. But for this company, I think because the price is below $10, I mean, it's $8.85, I would say that this company actually has a price that I think I'm really comfortable with, and I think it can grow because of the nature of their product and that we're going so remote. And as we've seen with COVID, a lot of companies and a lot of organizations are starting to get more comfortable with working remotely. And even as advances happen in the healthcare space, as they're trying to serve their clients more remotely, whether it's, the teledoctor services or the telenursing services, when they want to send a follow-up email to say, hey, this is what we discussed, or a prescription of some sorts, having email encryption is very, very important. So I think they're playing a role in a very important and growing space. And when we look at their financials, they seem to be managing their revenue, growing their revenue, managing their expenses. Now, their gross margin isn't where I want it to be, but it is showing some potential and some signs of growth based on their industry, based on the type of products they have. And so at a current price of $8.85, I think there is still room for this stock to grow because there's a higher need for it. And based on their we really don't see dividends playing a big role because they're probably going to have to invest a lot of their cash back into growing the business. So dividends may not be a big thing for this stock, but I do think the price can grow, which is why I give it an A. So when we round it all up and we say for the company ZIX, or the stock tick symbol ZIXI, I would say their product score was an A, their financials were A minus, and their stock potential is an A, which rounds this company out to an A. Now, if you're thinking about buying this company, think you should always do your own homework. Make sure that you understand your strategy and ask yourself, does this stock fit into your strategy? If it doesn't fit into your strategy, it doesn't matter how good the stock is. If it doesn't fit into your strategy, my advice is you shouldn't move forward with it if it doesn't fit into your strategy. So you want to do your own homework. And I also want to tell you about the great things that we're doing on our Facebook page. So join our Facebook community, Stock Talks, because we are releasing, a video like this once a week. We're also sharing different highlights, doing recaps of what's going on in the market, hot topics and news. Like this past week, one of the things we talked about was the stimulus package, and we also talked about Tesla's move to the S&P 500, what that means for Tesla, and what that may mean for your stock strategies and your index forex strategies. We also cover different terms that you should know and things you should understand to become more effective in your investment strategy. So join the Facebook community because there's a ton of stuff that we're giving there where our team is doing the research and sharing it. And then also, one of the things you can also join is our exclusive community. In the exclusive community, we're doing stock reviews just like this, but we're doing more because on the Facebook community, we release one free per week, but in the exclusive community, we are releasing more every single week where we're doing research there. And then we're also working on getting to the point where the team will actually release some of the research papers that we've written on some of these stocks so you can understand a little bit more, and we'll be sharing that with our community. So if you join the Smart Investor community, then you can get access to that. Now, if you want to take it a step further and be part of the VIP investor community, where you actually get to submit names of companies that you would like our team to consider to have research done on, and we can create videos about the companies that you're asking about. So you'll hear our research team. You can leverage the resources of our research team. And the only people who get that opportunity are the people who are in the VIP investor community. So thank you so much for watching another great video from Stock Talks, which Stock Talks is a production of the Business Talk Library. Thank you.